No microphone and no spotlight is safe when tough guy Jim Jordan is around, but right now he's running for the hills. The Ohio State University, where Jordan served as an assistant wrestling coach, has been rocked to its foundation by its cover up of team doctor Richard Strauss, who was nothing less than a large scale serial predator. George Clooney has spent years shepherding a documentary that gets at the OSU scandal, and it just won an award at the Tribeca Film Festival, and now it's been released by HBO. Among other things that the film makes clear is that Jordan was at the epicenter of the scandal, and you can imagine how bold, tough guy Jim Jordan handled this situation. I mean, after all, this is Benghazi Jim we're talking about. Look at how tough he grills Hillary Clinton.
Not what the American people got. And again, the American people want to know why. Why didn't you tell the American people exactly what you told the Egyptian prime minister?
Well, I think
But real quick, calling it an attack is like saying the sky's blue. Of course it was an attack.
So surely a big strapping assistant wrestling coach like Jordan must have hunted down Strauss, threw him up against the wall, and threatened him with bodily harm, right? No.
I got dressed, didn't say a word to him. As I'm walking out, at the very end of that walkway, Russ Alexson and Jim Jordan were both standing there. And I looked at both of them. I said, hey, Strauss is in there masturbating beside me in the shower. And both of them looked at me. Jim Jordan looked at me straight in my face and said, it's Strauss. You know what he does.
Why is nobody surprised that Jim is one of the people who looked the other way while wrestlers had their lives ruined? And this is precisely one of the things that the film helps reveal. How is it that college wrestlers fell victim? Every one of those guys could have snapped this predator's spine without breaking a sweat. And what the film reveals is that those answers are heartbreaking.
You walk into a room and Doc tells me to turn the lights off.
He was in such a position of power because if they didn't go through his exam, they did not compete.
The wheels came off. I was never the same person.
Our coaches knew. It's truly amazing how many people had to look the other way for him to get away with this that long.
But Jordan's role in all of this is even worse than looking the other way. Watch this.
Jim Jordan called me crying, groveling on the 4th of July, begging me to go against my brother, begging me, crying for a half hour. That's the kind of cover-ups that's going on there. Jim Jordan called me several times after that. That week, I had to have my lawyer call him, tell him to stop calling me. I had a teammate, George Pardos, I called and told him, call Jim Jordan and tell him to quit calling me or I'm going to beat his ass. He's throwing us under the bus, all of us. He's a coward. He's a coward. He's not a leader. He's a coward. I'm a leader. I was captain of these guys. That's why I'm here. I would never abandon my team. He abandoned us. Our head coach abandoned us. He's flipped his story. He called other people to flip their story. He called Mark Coleman to flip his story. He called his parents, 90 years old. That's the kind of person Jim Jordan is.
So how did you know that Jim Jordan was worse than a sniveling coward? He tried to cover it up. How is it absolutely self-evident that he would betray people he was responsible for and look out instead for himself? That part, absolutely predictable. And it's just as predictable, and it's just his luck that this documentary is being released maybe days before Trump drags us into a war with Iran, because that is the only way that Jordan survives this documentary. Even then, it's hard to believe that in Jordan's entire congressional district, there isn't a progressive veteran or a former OSU athlete that will run against Jordan and keep pushing these facts until Jordan's career is buried. Because the thing that this film is going to make clear to all those Ohio voters who love OSU is that Jim Jordan helped the school betray and further victimize student athletes at OSU. There's no way Jordan should get to walk away from it and pretend it didn't happen. And sure, Jordan is going to say that this is just a hit piece. But the people who watch this film are going to look into the faces of all those former college athletes and know Jim Jordan is lying. Up until this point, it's almost certain that OSU pride has actually kept the scandal away from Jordan. After this film, OSU pride is going to demand that people hold his feet to the fire, hold him accountable, and put his career where it belongs, in the trash can. And who among us will weep when Jim Jordan is gone? No one. Absolutely no one. Those tears belong to the survivors. Reporting from Rome, I'm Anthony Vincent Gallo for Occupy Democrats.